Hello to my human family. Today we have someone who is determined not to reverse the course of evolution and drive us all back into the sea. It is the one, the only, the fuzzy, the annoying prick on the internet, as he calls himself, Kevin Logan.
Hello. How are I?
I'm doing absolutely fine. How are you doing?
I am sensationally well. I thank you for asking.
I had to do it because it's your signature at this point.
Yes, yeah, the course of human history. That was a joke I wrote probably like 4 years ago when I was really, really drunk, and I still do it for that series. And it's these people reversing human was it evolution or something? Yeah. Anyway, Think of better jokes when you're really drunk 4 years ago in the future, Kev, is what I would suggest.
That would be it's a useful tip, I think. For all
Exactly.
YouTubers, get drunk and make up your tags.
Exactly, that will stick with you for. Actually, I quite like that. I think it's quite cute. I mean, you sort of have to get the point of the series in order to get the joke, I suppose, or get the point I'm trying to make. But it doesn't really matter. I could just say hello, but that would be boring.
Well, just to even go into it, the name of Descent of Man Osphere is one.
Thank you for pronouncing it correctly. So few people do. But yeah, that's literally the joke of the title is Descent of Man, and it's Man Osphere, but it's Man Osphere, so it's a pun. Anyway. Yeah.
Yes, it's one of those. I am amazed how few people, how a lot of especially the people on the right, do not get it.
Yeah. Well, that's sort of fine if for the people who are sort of featured in the series, as targets. Target sounds wrong, but you know what I mean. Subjects. I wouldn't expect or want them to get it because if they were able to get that, they would have the cognitive capacity not to be so dreadful to be involved in that series in the first place.
That makes way too much sense. More sense than I expected of you, Kevin.
Well, thank you. Yeah, I think it's one of the rare occasions where I'm not either drunk high or about to have an anxiety flip out at some point. So you've got me at the sweet spot, which is like about once every 6 months, I think.
Absolutely. Since we're on it, I'll even start with that. The Descent of Manosphere. How did you even start that? What was the impetus?
Well, I started my YouTube channel in February of 2015 when I was younger and thinner and distinctly less hideous than I now am. Not as beautiful as I was when I was a young man. I was fucking glorious. If only I'd known at the time. Anyway, enough old man stuff. Right. I'd started my channel well, actually, if you go to my main channel, you'd find out I started it in 2009, back when I was in my university days, when I was young, thin and beautiful. But I'd started actually doing videos on that channel in February 2015. I wanted to do sort of atheist stuff, really. But I sort of wanted to do atheist stuff from a progressive point of view because it was about the time where the change from atheists doing like, aren't religious people anti-LGBT or, holding society back to them saying, oh, yeah, but look at the SJWs, look at all these progressive, when that change from the lurch rightward that the atheist community had. So I found myself more and more making videos about actually just these horrible pricks on the internet who actually are horrible pricks. Like I joke about myself, but I realise I'm not quite on that level.
Right.
And so these people who are kind of anti-feminist, anti-progressive dickheads, I think would be the phrase I would use. And so I decided to sort of, I found myself, like I'd made a video called the 10 biggest lies of the manosphere, which they reacted really, really badly to. And I thought, well, there's something there then. There's definitely that's definitely a wound that needs to be ripped wider open. That's a horrible phrase, Kev, but you get the idea. A wound that needed salt pouring in there.
Yes.
So I thought, okay, well, I'll do a video, like a series, like or something like that. I hadn't really worked out quite what it would be. That's why if you watch the first video, it's nothing like the rest of the series, really, because I hadn't worked out quite what the format was going to be.
Oh yeah,
I came up with the pun first. That's the important thing. I always come up with the pun first and then think, I can make that into a series. Definitely.
That's how I write, so.
Yeah. It works. It works if you're not like a super brain genius person, who very few people are, of course, because,
Well, I like to think so, but I think that's my Dunning-Kruger kicking in. So,
yeah.
Well, there's a couple of people you've come back to a few times. One person who claims to be of a cod but is really from Swindon.
Well, the reason I've returned to him is because he's returned to me. Like, there's been an interaction. Like, I did a series which lasted 4 videos, which is not uncommon for me. I'll start series and then don't go forward with them very often. That's why the Descent of Manosphere is unusual, because I've actually kept that going.
Yeah.
But I did a series called What a Sargon of a Cat Got Wrong Now, which you could do a video about 10 times a day, frankly, because he's just atrocious. And I did one about, I can't even remember what it was. He'd said something stupid about history, which is often the case. And as a person who'd studied history, this offended me greatly. And so, but he did, he responded to that and then responded to various other things I'd said. And then the very first Google Hangout I ever did, back when the days when Google Hangouts were a thing, was Carl invited me on for a chat on his thing. And we did a 4-hour stream, which was fucking ridiculous. I had to stop for two urination breaks during that, because I bought like a big bottle of like fizzy drink. I'm not advertising you, fuck off. Bottles of fizzy drink, not knowing how long it would last, and then I drank it all really quickly because I was really nervous, because I had like 350 subscribers, and at the time he had 150,000. So why was he responding to me at all? Why did he give 2 fucks what I had to say? And B, I'd never spoken to that kind of crowd of people. There were like fucking 5,000 people watching live. I thought, this is fucking madness.
Well, this is why I try and mention him in every video. That way, eventually he'll notice me.
Well, it's. I mean, I got him at the sweet spot before he became. Like, he's a lot bigger now, because pandering to right-wing garbage bags helps on YouTube. Apparently, those are the kind of people the algorithm does give a fuck about, which is a reference the people listening won't get, because we talked about that off air. Anyway, I'm nothing if not absolutely uncaring towards the audience listening at any given moment. Anyways, So the fact that Carl had responded to me, like, if you bite, I'm gonna explore down that alleyway, and what an alleyway it was. The man's an idiot, and it's hilarious. So I've returned to him. He's my kind of I don't know, the Joker to my Batman, I suppose.
One of the things that Kristi and I mentioned was that our favorite thing was not him getting milkshake constantly; it was him getting fished.
Yeah, he was literally kippered right in his face. It's still one of my favourite images. Earlier in the year, he stood for election because the idea of, I still think it's so hilarious that an internet goon decided to run for actual political office. Like, what did you think was going to happen, you silly bastard? Anyway, and he was in a place called, where was it? Plymouth, possibly. Anyway, somewhere in the southwest of the country,
right?
Which is the constituency he was running in. And there's an amazing image, because it was being filmed, and there's this one stopped image, one photograph of the fish literally about to hit him in the face, which I focus on in, I think, one of my best bits ever in the Descent of Manosphere, because I did an episode about him running for office. Just because it was so funny. And me and my Kristi Winters, not the Kristi I'm talking to right now. That's a confusing thing. Anyway, we
say Dr. Kristi if it gets.
Well, me and the general, which is a phrase that Carl literally referred to as the general of the SJWs, because he's that ridiculous. Yes. Anyway, so me and the general, we had so much fun ripping into him, and just literally with some days, like, he was featured on the BBC News and stuff, and he was interviewed, and he got absolutely torched. It was hilarious. So me and Kristi just played that and laughed at it we just laughed along with the interview. It was brilliant. So I thought, well, I'll do a Descent of Manosphere on it. And one of the bits I focused on was that image because it tells a story. It's an amazing story of fish about to hit a slightly overweight man in the face. It's hilarious. It's really like that will never ever not be funny to me because he deserved it. Like if he was an innocent bystander, if he was a drive-by fishing of an innocent person, that would be terrible. But this was very much a standstill fishing of someone who very much deserved it. It was brilliant.
Is there just out of curiosity? Is there a problem? Is there a great problem with drive-by fishings in Britain? I'm really not.
We don't like to talk about it. We don't like to talk about it. It's a sore spot. We just, as a nation, we've decided to just turn a blind eye to the drive-by fishing pandemic.
Well, yeah, there's a lot of blind eyes going on in Britain right now, but I should talk. I'm in the U.S.
Well, I mean, to completely pivot away from something ridiculous to something ridiculous, but ultimately very serious. Your El Presidente has just touched down in Britain today. Yeah, there's a NATO summit being held in London, and he's just arrived. And when America sends its people, it's not sending its best.
It's sending its murders.
Exactly. I assume some of them are good people. But, especially because our current Prime Minister is also technically an American immigrant as well. He was born in New York City. I mean, it doesn't matter. His Americanness is not the problem. It's his shitness that's the problem. But so you've sent an American president over to visit an American Prime Minister.
Well,
and they're both dreadful. Can they both please fuck off? Would be good,
It used to be that Boris Johnson and Trump were fun to laugh at, and it's like, that's actually why I thought Carl might have a chance. I'm like, wait, he's someone who gets laughed at all the time. That seems to be a requirement for office now.
True, but I suppose the difference is that they both had media profile and money, and Carl doesn't really have either of those things.
That is true.
Because both Trump and Johnson have said things equally as horrific as Carl, but they've got the money and political connections and media connections to make that problem go away, whereas Carl doesn't.
And the pig fucking has not seemed to matter with the last couple of prime ministers. So,
well, technically, he didn't fuck the pig. He just stuck his penis inside a dead pig's mouth, which is totally better. That's totally less weird and horrific. Yeah, that actually happened. David Cameron, the former Prime Minister. Apparently, I mean, there's no way of actually proving it because presumably they don't keep records of such things. But apparently the story goes that when he was at university, they were in like a club, and one of the initiation things, like an American sorority, I suppose, or fraternity, they go to stick their penis into the mouth of a dead pig, which is not quite fucking it. I don't think he reached climax, but I imagine neither did the pig. But
Boris looks like he probably did. I mean, they were in the same sorority, fraternity.
Well, I think every woman who's ever fucked him has definitely fucked a pig.
Yes, there is that.
Yeah. The fact that anyone has fucked Boris Johnson tells you that power and money are an aphrodisiac. Definitely.
Yeah, I'm having so much trouble just even picturing this because my brain is trying to shut down. It's trying to actually eat. It's trying to eat itself.
Well, talking of posh people and weird descriptions of sex, and the Conservative Party, Nicholas Soames, who's actually the grandson of Winston Churchill, who was a member of Parliament up until very recently, because he's just stepped down or whatever, just stepped aside and won't run again. One of his ex-partners described having sex with him as having a fully stocked wardrobe fall on top of you with the key still in the lock.
Oh, that's amazing.
Yeah, which is an amazing description of what must have been horrific sex, I suppose. I mean, I've had some bad reviews, but that's not a good one.
Yeah, Jesus. Um, during the I'm gonna keep going on the Descendant Minister. One of the things because it's fun, and it's the thing you're most known for, other than the hangouts with the General Kristi Winters. The Is there anything during the research for all of that really surprised the fuck out of you?
Surprised me. Oh wow! I'm not sure there's much that surprised me. Well, other than finding out that certain people believed some strange things, like I wasn't. Well, I can't remember who it was now, but I found out they were an antinatalist, which is really strange because I wasn't even really aware of what that was, and I looked into it and I thought, well, that's really strange, but it doesn't. Like I was surprised by that because it was something completely new, I suppose. But very little surprises me because I expect the worst of them. So I suppose the only thing that would surprise me is if you looked into it and you found out actually they're really nice. This is just an act on the internet they're doing. It's literally just like a character. It's a comedy routine. That would surprise me. But there's been plenty of things that have disgusted me and frankly depressed me enormously during the whole
Yeah.
thing.
Stefan Molyneux is an antinatalist, the last I knew.
I'm not sure he is an antinatalist, actually, because I know he's very, very pro-life. And when I say pro-life, I mean anti-choice. He's not actually pro-life. He likes bombing brown kids and stuff, But he's to the point where, actually, I suppose one thing that did surprise me was that he was so horrifically honest about his intentions when it came to women who wanted to get an abortion. When I found a clip of him saying that he literally said that even though he's like this big liberty guy, you can't impose, he's all about the non-aggression principle. But he said that it should be perfectly legal to have, if you find out a woman is going to have an abortion, to lock her in a cupboard until she gives birth.
Well, as long as it doesn't fall on somebody with the key still in it and that passes for sex.
Yeah. Oh, well, yes. I mean, you may have slightly missed the point, but yes, I get it there, yes. That's a callback to an earlier bit of nonsense I said.
Yeah, I pay attention. If nothing else, I pay attention.
Well, thank you. Because I often try to appear like I'm paying attention when actually I'm thinking about sport or something, probably. Almost certain.
Well, the one thing that changed all trans people's lives this year has been sport. And I care nothing for sport, so...
Well, as a trans person, you're going to have to, because there's going to be trans people at the Olympics for the first time in 2020. So that will be definitely a topic that will arise in your social circles, I imagine. And mine, yeah.
Yeah, well, we both know what happened. I've mentioned it on this channel a bunch of times, and I'm kind of tired of talking about it, although it's come back up now again, and I'm getting hit on Twitter all over the place again. I managed to make some friends out of that I probably would never have met. So I'm looking at the bright side because, goddamn it, I tried to run my car into a tree at one point during the whole debacle. So it's yeah.
Yeah, but it's. I mean, I didn't say that in the sense that you're going to be forced into anything. Just in the sense that you'll definitely hear about it because there's going to be the same trans panic bullshit that there always is whenever a trans person does anything. And there's going to be Kate McKinnon's going to be cycling for Canada and various other trans people. Even though in the past, I think at 2 Olympics, trans people have been allowed to participate as their actual gender rather than their assigned at birth gender. But for neither Olympics has a trans person qualified. Whereas this time they're going to be, I think, 3 or 4 at the last time I had a look.
Last time I had a look.
Injuries aside, which obviously can happen to anyone, will be competing in Tokyo, which will be fun.
Well, one of the people I became friendly with was Dr. McKinnon. So
yeah, well, she's amazing because I saw her being interviewed on the TV about trans stuff, right? And she was just put down as Dr. McKinnon. So when I started talking about that interview I'd seen, someone pointed out, oh, you know, she's like an Olympic cyclist as well. I was like, what? So she's a doctor, a trans person, and an Olympic cyclist. What an amazing combination of things to be. What a genuinely very impressive human being.
She is, and just in general, she
well, you can. It seems very unfair. You can either have good looks, physical ability, or mental prowess, and unfortunately, she's got the trifecta, which is very annoying. Well, you're not allowed to have those things. All of those. If you have all of those things, you're making everyone else look bad.
It's true. It's like I am there is a part of me that is jealous of her just for the accomplishment. Her work in philosophy, by the way, which I had read before, and I didn't realize that they were the same person, the cyclist and the that I was talking to, and all of a sudden I talked to my Aaron Rabinowitz. I don't know if you know him from online.
Apologies. Actually, I might do, but just under a different name or something. Who knows?
Oh,
I've got a lot of anime avatars that follow me, and not like the white ones, the nice ones.
He's a philosopher, and once I realized McKinnon was a philosopher, I kind of lobbied to have her on his show because he's got a philosophy show, which is very good. Embrace the Void, in case anybody wants a recommendation. It's really a cool show.
But you should also listen to Kristi and Kev's Happy Hour on Podbean. That's a very good podcast as well.
Yes, we're getting to that. Trust me.
But I feel like I don't plug very often, but it appeared in my mind, and I thought, well, yeah. I mean, I don't even advertise when the shows are happening, so I'm useless at this.
Yes, half the time I'm like, oh, that started already? Damn.
Yeah, because I mean, if I set it up more than 10 minutes before it starts, I feel like I'm being too well prepared.
Well, yeah. just a real quick on
oh, sorry, yeah, do it, yeah.
I'm going to promote her. She sent me some stickers. I don't know. This may not.
Oh, that's awesome.
Sport is a human right, and this one you won't be able to read over camera, but it specifically says a trans person was. It's got a toilet on it, and it says a trans person was here and nothing bad happened.
That's the strangest of the things, because there's like a mass delusion in the popular press about that, like, oh, trans people are going in and raping people in toilets. Which, again, they seem to all believe, but never seem to be able to actually point to any examples of. Whereas, like, trans people they want to go for a piss and or poo, usually. Maybe to wash their hands as well, who knows? It's, why do you care? What the fuck is wrong with you? Let them go to the toilet.
If I could still do my Richard Attenborough voice, I'd do the, just remember they're more scared of you than you are of them.
Well, that's that very, very accurate meme of someone like peering under a toilet stall and saying, "Oh, what gender are you? I wouldn't want you to make me feel uncomfortable in the toilet." Yeah, it's fucking weird. Leave them alone. Like, if you see someone attacking another person, regardless of the gender or cis/trans nature of either of the people involved, then stop that. But if someone's going for a piss, leave them alone. What the fuck is wrong with you? Just general etiquette. If someone else is pissing or using the toilet for any normal means, leave them alone. Just leave them the fuck alone.
I live in a very leftist city, and we have a fair amount of co-ed bathrooms around here. So
yeah, well, in France, it was a culture shock. The amount of unisex toilet. You'd walk in and there'd just be a woman there, and you're like, "Oh, sorry," and you'd walk out thinking, "Oh, there needs to be another toilet." But no, that's the toilet.
Yes.
That's the toilet. Oh, that's strange and unusual. But you know what? It functions. People get on just fine.
It's funny. The bathroom thing was the first time it really hit my awareness, and there's a lot of things that prevented me from coming out for a long time. And when the bathroom bills started happening, it started actually pushing me more towards coming out, which is a strange thing. It may be my contrary nature, but I don't know if Trump hadn't been elected if I would have come out. Because if I'm going to fight Trump, I'm going to fight him as my own damn self.
Yeah. Well, that would be interesting to find out. There probably are various people in that situation, but there are probably people who felt the exact opposite as well. Like, I was gonna come out, but now fuck it, because the situation's so hostile. You know?
Yeah, my PMs are full of those people. I'm trans mom to 16 people, I think now.
Oh, that's awesome.
So, when did trans rights hit your radar?
Oh wow. I don't really know. So I suppose the very first trans person I'd ever even heard of was a woman who you've almost certainly never heard of, just because she's not particularly famous anywhere at all. But she was involved. She was a Portuguese woman whose name I've totally forgotten. But she was involved in a thing called Big Brother, which I don't know. Is that a thing that happened in America? Basically, a quote unquote reality TV show. Where people live in a totally unreal situation of being trapped in a house with each other with little food and lots of alcohol, which is fine. Makes for entertaining TV, apparently, although I think it's a shit show. Anyway.
That does describe my house, actually.
Well, that's fair enough. It's reality for some people, I suppose. Yeah, so, and she was involved in that, and look, it wasn't revealed at the start that this person was trans. This was back in the late 90s, early 2000s. She wasn't revealed as trans. The show's producers knew she was trans going in there, but they didn't reveal that to the public or to the other housemates initially. And so it was like this big thing, like, oh, this person's actually, it's a trans person. But they were like a female passing trans woman. So, like, you couldn't, like, no one would have possibly even guessed that, frankly. Like, she looked like a cis woman, basically. And so that was, like, an interesting shock as, like, a kid growing up, like, oh, that's a thing that exists. Like, I wasn't even aware of that. Like, I was aware of, I suppose, like, drag queens, and I thought initially that's what that was. Like, I wasn't aware that there was such a thing as, like, a trans person. So that was cool. But it just sort of never bothered me. Well, that's the thing with the anti-trans thing in America. Is that on a personal level, it's never, like, even before I became vaguely woke or whatever, when I was just a little fucking, I don't know, edgy teen or whatever, it never bothered me that trans people existed. It never struck me as something that needed to be, like, guarded against or something. It was just a thing that people were. Okay, cool. Like, it never bothered me. And then obviously all this trans bill stuff in America happened. Which that's not a thing here in Britain. Like, in Britain, people are, like, generally speaking, even, like, there's a person that people may be aware of who I engaged with a little bit called Jess Phillips, who's a member of Parliament, who said some frankly rather turfy things, which is rather unfortunate. But even she, who has this, like, thing about, like, creating women's spaces and stuff, but she was also one of the co-authors and sponsors of the trans recognition bill here in Britain. Yes. Which allowed, like, for basically the first time for trans people to be officially recognised as what they were, or as the gender that they were, and of course allowed, like, it was illegal to discriminate and ban people from toilets based on the fact that they were trans, right?
Right.
So even people who have turfy opinions, I wouldn't say she actually is a turf, because, like I say, she did that piece of legislation, so she can't be out and out turf. But even people with turfy opinions don't really give two fucks by and large about trans people's existence. Like, they don't want to try and make it harder for them to live. So that the American experience is so strange to the British eye.
Well, it's different depending on where you live. I'm in Buffalo, New York, which is since we have a bridge with Canada, you know, a couple blocks that way.
You also have a terrible NFL team, just saying.
Yeah, and we also have June, so, you know.
Oh, well, so you've got it fucking made.
The there's it's a lot of trans people left and went to Canada, and it was Montreal was one of the places to get surgery. So there is a huge trans community in Buffalo. So it's really easy to be trans here. I mean, relatively easy. I've had my problems, but I hear from people in say North Carolina, and I go, oh shit, I don't even know if I could have survived that.
Yeah, that's all pretty fucked up. I mean, not to take away from the seriousness of your point, but can I show you a gratuitous shot live of my pussy?
Absolutely. It is a part. It is a part of your identity.
Yeah. Hello, Rorycats. Say hello to the people. Hello.
Oh, yeah. There we go.
Hello. Anyway,
Rorycats is a part of your identity. I would have been absolutely disappointed and probably.
He's a staple part of my channel. Yeah, I describe him as both the beauty and the brains of the operation.
Yeah, if you hadn't shown Rorycats, I probably would have just deleted this entire file and screwed it.
And I wouldn't have blamed you for a second. In fact, just edit all the bits of me talking and just show you talking and the cat. I think it would probably be fair. But now we've had a third ginger on the stream. Good Lord.
Oh,
good
dear.
Lord.
Yeah.
It's like an overload. Oh, it's too much. The lack of soul, the lack of souls on this stream is just amazing.
And I am naturally ginger to the point that every time I dye my hair, about 2 weeks later, it just turns back to orange. It does not matter.
Well, I've only got the orange beard going on. The hair's sort of mousy brown, which is weird because they should be the same color, really.
Yeah, it happens.
I mean, I can't say that the carpets match the drapes, but you know.
Genetics is a weird thing, which is how people like me exist in the first place.
Well, yes. I mean, human beings are a complex thing. It's not just dick and pussy and that's it.
Yeah.
As people look in what other actually that's ultimately what it comes down to. The complex nature of what human beings are in every other situation, in every other context. But when it comes to gender, there's some people who are like, no, it's simple. It's 50-50. You're either woms or a man, and that's it. Like, what? In what other realm of medicine, sickness, birth defects, all kinds of huge array of different things that human experience contains. But when it comes to one of the most intrinsically basic aspects of what a human being can be, i.e. what gender they are, that it's just a simple binary of this is, you're born this way and that's that. Look, it's just doesn't make it. It's not real. Life is way more complex than that. Oh, and now Rory's being sick, possibly.
Too much chicken.
Or he's just throwing up on my carpet again because he's an arse. I will have to clean that up, probably.
Well, one thing I don't mention often is I'm actually XX. I was a fully functioning male XX person, which is a thing that can happen. And it's not as unusual as people would think because my former roommate is also.
Right. Oh, okay. Well, actually, again, with the chromosomes thing, what I like to ask transphobes when they mention that is, what are your chromosomes? And often they'll say, well, I don't know. And that's the thing. Neither do I. Because unless you have a specific problem with them, you don't need to find out. So it's not actually the defining factor in what you are. Because I don't know what my chromosomes are. Yeah, I know I'm a man.
Most people.
I don't give a fuck what my chromosomes are. Yeah, exactly. Because unless you have a specific reason to find out, like an illness or something, why is it relevant?
I got him. I actually got him checked because I have a a genetic disorder, and we wanted to check if the markers
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, well,
passed.
you had a specific medical reason to find that out, whereas most people don't, and so therefore it's not actually really that big a deal in terms of your gender at all. Like it's not really the be all and end all. Transphobes, shut up.
And the funny thing, as far as the CDC, I'm sorry to throw stats that you're just, but as far as the CDC is concerned, they don't know how many of us there are. The one thing they do know is that we obviously always have female children, assigned female at birth, and the likelihood of one of them being trans is high, but not all of us are trans.
Right.
So I found out way during my transition, so I was already heading that way, and my former roommate the same. You know?
Well, exactly. Well, not just that, but every single human being that has ever existed starts as female in the womb, and then if you end up being male, it's because you stopped evolving. Yeah, I'm going there, motherfuckers. That's why you've got nipples. You don't need them; they're there. So, yeah.
Trying to reverse human evolution and drive us all back into the sea.
Well, yeah, it was like a kind of a 70s feminist talking point, wasn't it? That the male is the incomplete female. And that's true. That's literally true. That's developmentally how it works in the womb. And that's fine. It doesn't make anyone better or worse, but it's still a fact. So, again, the idea that anyone is purely anything when human development and human existence is so fucking ridiculously complicated to the point of being unknowable is it's absurd to think of it as black and white when it clearly isn't.
Well, one of the funny things I thought, for years, I kind of was tepid on the idea of male privilege, and that, I think, of all the things, was the most shocking. Is I suddenly became stupid. I suddenly became someone not listened to.
Yeah.
I suddenly became unable to do, the most basic things that don't involve cooking. Okay.
Well, actually, one of fascinating when I did a hangout a long time ago now with ContraPoints. People will be aware of is a trans person on the internet, and therefore
yes,
speaks for all trans people. I remember asking her about her loss of, or her perceived loss of, because obviously it's sort of about their own personal experience. Because obviously that person was assigned male at birth and has now transitioned,
right,
and largely passes, it seems to me. And so whether their experience of having lost that male privilege because she's no longer perceived as male to people who don't know her. And that was fascinating to hear that, because she was saying that basically she was aware of the existence of male privilege and obviously had experienced it during her life as outwardly appearing as a man.
right.
But she wasn't anywhere near as aware of exactly the level of impact it has, to the point where, like you say, she was saying that people who had previously taken her seriously no longer did. Like her opinions, even though her opinions were basically the same, and her education and experience was basically still the same, she wasn't taking her seriously anymore. And that's a fascinating insight into that, because having lived outwardly as both genders, or as strictly male or strictly female,
Sure.
to the outward perception, the world's outward perception, gives, like I say, a kind of unique and fascinating insight into quite how absurd it is to deny that male privilege is this huge fucking thing. It's ridiculous, absolutely ridiculous. Yeah, if you want to know the difference there, ask a trans person who has transitioned. And
when I pass, which is happening more and more, which is lovely. But it is really freaky, just the way it is. How I usually put it now is, I'm used to being perceived as a straight white male, Yet I am none of those things.
Well, I mean, what I try and do on my channel actually is, in a bizarre way, even though I want to tear down the system that allows me to have privilege, whilst we're still there, I try and use my privilege as a straight white dude to talk to other straight white dudes and convince them that we need to tear down the system that gives us privilege as straight white dudes.
Yeah.
So to try and use a negative thing in a positive way, hopefully.
Well, I am not of these very, 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 very tiny contingent of trans people who think straight people just should be avoided at all costs.
What, should cis people be avoided?
Cis people.
So. Yeah. I mean, I totally get that. I genuinely do. Look, I'm not going to sit here and say, like, oh, well, that's a silly thing. We need to convince. No, if a trans person wants to just totally avoid cis society, I fucking get that. I'm not going to fucking tell them that they're wrong there.
No,
that makes a lot of sense. Just from a self-preservation point of view, why the fuck would they want to? Considering it's cis people who want to fuck up their lives. Not all cis people. Hashtag not all. But clearly the people trying to do that are by and large cis. Although there's the Blair Whites of the world as well. So, you know. But I understand why they would want. They just think, fuck it. There's no point. Cis people want to make it impossible to exist in that world. So why should I even fucking try? That makes a lot of sense to me.
Yeah, it's a very tempting thing, and I do know a lot of people in that contingent. So, I'm an ambassador sometimes. You know?
Ambassador for the cis.
Ambassador for the cis.
Yeah. Well, I try to be as well, but like we're not all fucking dreadful honest. You don't have to hate all of us.
No, I know, and I suppose we do have to talk about it since I got you here. The troubles of this last year, which are rearing their head again. When the atheist community of Austin broke up during a particularly strange trans panic moment, you were good enough to host a lot of the people who left there and actually, you know, talk to them and hear their stories, which was comforting. Even though I know a lot of these people and I'd heard about it, but you know, it was very comforting.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad you got something positive from that. That's fucking awesome. Yeah, that actually started again. I shouldn't take the credit here because it's actually another trans person who led to that. Essence of Thought,
right.
Here in the interwebs. Who, by the way, if you were thinking about going and watch my channel, don't go and watch EOT. Much better. Just create really good content, really well researched and shit. Really entertaining. He was just a generally very pleasant person, regardless of what you may have heard from certain pricks on the internet. Anyway, they were in contact with the people like Janet Reyes and Chelsea Rodriguez and various other awesome people who had been involved with both presenting and behind the scenes with the Atheist Experience and the Atheist Community of Austin, who produced that show. And they were going to do a show on the EOT channel initially, but Essence of Thought was a bit reticent because that's not really the kind of content they produce on that channel.
Right.
And so very, very kindly, and I'm still enormously grateful to them for that, they suggested that they basically pointed them in the direction of me on my channel, because I do that kind of thing. I will happily host virtually anyone. Although if you're a nasty person, I will just shout at you. So by all means, I will have you on, but I will call you names. But if you're a nice person like those people from the atheist, well, the former people from the atheist community of Austin. No, they're still people. They're not former people. They're people who were formerly on the atheist community of Austin.
Language is fun.
Yeah, language is. I'm very good at. I English well. Yes. I English good person, man speak. Yes. Pointed them in my direction, and we arranged. Initially, it was going to be one sort of big thing, but then John couldn't make it, and then someone else wanted to join as well. So we ended up doing two. But the first one was kind of got a lot of pushback from the Matt Dillahunty cultists, frankly.
And Matt Dillahunty himself, who dropped by for a minute.
He did, yeah. He popped into the live stream chat. And Matt, the offer I made you then still stands. If you want to come on and dare to try and defend yourself, by all means, I will host you. But again, you probably won't enjoy that experience, but it's open to you if you want to. Anyway, yes, yeah. So that was a genuinely fascinating experience listening to those people, because I'd watched that show for years. Like they were one of the things on the internet when I first got into watching YouTube, which is about the time YouTube really started. They were one of the things I always looked forward to, and they did amazing work. They were really pro-LGBT at one point, and then became decidedly less pro the T. And so, that led to a huge split, and I was hugely honoured to host those people and hear their experiences. And I've got to know them and various other fantastic people, be they trans or cis, or intersex or gender or whatever, as well, through that. And that's been an enormous sense of accomplishment and made it all worthwhile to do all of that. And I've genuinely been in a hugely positive experience. I've loved it.
Well, I always do thank you to somebody, because everybody I've had on has done something nice somewhere along the line. And the way you did that, which I was not sure what I expected when it started, because you're usually light and breezy and stuff, but you were very serious and a very good interviewer on that. And it was really comforting to hear, to have. At that time, I was struggling for allies. I didn't know who to trust, and it was huge for me. So I would like to thank you for that.
Well, I genuinely, there's no need to thank me. I'm hugely honoured to have done it. And the love I've received from trans people since then has added to what was already a huge honour, because, like I say, I'd watched the show for years and I genuinely respected and frankly adored the people that were involved in that. And the fact that it gave trans people a sense of support and comfort and enjoyment from that, and showed them that maybe not all of the atheists on the internet are absolute garbage. That for me is huge. That was a fantastic thing, which is basically, I mean, what I wanted to get out of it was talking to people I really liked. That was sort of nice. There was a kind of celebrity element, let's be honest. I've been watching people for years. It was huge. Whenever I was offered the opportunity, and of course I'm going to do that. It's amazing. What a great thing. But also to get out that, I wanted to expose the atheist experience for the transphobic mess they'd become. Talking to people like quote-unquote rationality rules and the like, and accepting those into the internet fold. And the fact that trans people reacted so positively to that has been hugely gratifying. So there's genuinely, I appreciate that you wanted to say thank you, but there's no need for anyone to ever say thank you for that. The pleasure was entirely mine.
Well, it's still something. It's still something you did, and your gravestone should read, you helped a lot of trans people who were really hurting at one point.
Well, thank you. I mean, if I'm ever afforded a gravestone, because I've said before to my relatives, just put me in a bin bag that the trash men collect on Fridays. You can do it for free. It'd be fine. But if I am afforded a gravestone, it will probably say something like, if you put flowers on my grave and waste that money, I will fucking haunt you. So,
I think that's a good epitaph.
Yeah. Although Spike Milligan's one is still a fucking classic. On his gravestone, he did a joke, because he was a comedian, British comedian.
Yeah.
He did a joke during his life, but it was actually carried out in his death as well. He said, on my gravestone, I want the phrase, "I told you I was ill."
Yeah, of course.
Which is lovely. And that's actually on his gravestone then, Australia.
The oh yeah, considering a lot of people now have to. No, I'm not even going to get into the BBC nonsense. That was a while back. And
well, hang on. Do you mean British Broadcasting Corporation or Big Black Cock?
Oh no, the BBC, where all of a sudden lots of people got posthumously cancelled, and rightly so, or cancelled.
Okay, yes, right, yes.
I'm trying to be really casual about it because
that's
I brought
fine.
it up as a line, and
that's absolutely fine. And my joke now seems entirely inappropriate. Now I understand where you're going with that. Yeah. Well, let's keep it entirely vague, so you don't have to put a trigger warning on it. That's fine.
No, that's yeah. I mean,
yeah, no content warning needed when we didn't directly mention a thing. That's fine.
Yeah, and the joke that's going through my head is absolutely inappropriate, and I'll tell you off air after.
Well, okay, please do. And that's the thing I've learned on the internet, that when I'm never sure in my head, I always remember like someone tells me off air, and I'm never certain whether they told me not to say it or whether it's fine to say. So I've got lots of stories I probably could tell, but I can't remember whether if I'm allowed to or not. So I don't know. It's just best not to, really, I think.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
It's anyway, the British, one of the things about the what we see of British trans activism is very much turfy, and I realize you have a strange system to us as we have to you, but
yeah. I suppose the because, and again, this is a general point, but it's definitely true with trans/wider LGBT issues. That whenever you consider a British aspect of culture or politics or social policy or whatever, always think of the American version of it, but remove the religiosity, and you're basically in the right sort of place. And essentially, that it's true that we don't. I mean, some British trans people may disagree with you, I suppose, disagree with what I'm about to say, but by and large, we don't need a massively huge activist element of trans campaigning. Like, it's more about individual issues rather than needing a general trans pushback, because by and large, the argument's been won over the existence of trans people. It's not like debated in the respect it is in America. So you end up with the leading voices, that those who shout loudest in a generic sense that the media can understand, are the TERFs. But that doesn't lead you anywhere, because then you get things like, H Bomber Guy doing his stream, and all of a sudden all of the headlines are, oh yeah, this cool trans thing happened. Okay, cool.
Yeah, that was... if I ever get H Bomber Guy on here, and you can talk to him for me.
I've tried getting him on. It's impossible. He's got stuff. He does real world things apparently. So, which is deeply disappointing. But no, he's awesome. Yeah.
I'm way too late. He had he had like 31,000 when I first encountered him.
Well, I knew him back in the day. We had a fantastic group on Facebook that got blew up by an idiot. It doesn't matter. Anyway, and that involved loads of really great people, like H Bomber Guy was in there under his private account as well, not on the H Bomber Guy account, under his real name. And oh god, what's her name? Francesca Ramsey and Kat Black, and loads of really fantastic people who are legitimately like she's been on actual things. Francesca Ramsey, she's like an actual mainstream person. And I still kind of know her. Like, we still follow each other on Twitter because I'm super awesome like that. You understand? I've got friends in high places. But yeah, she's really awesome. Although one thing I was annoyed about when my initial Twitter account got nuked, that I was being followed by Jeremy Corbyn, the hopefully soon to be Prime Minister of Great Britain. on that account, and now I'm not because that account got torched by Nazis.
Oh, I got blocked by Trump before the Supreme Court told him he couldn't block people because.
Well, that seems really strange. Is he allowed to block foreigners? Surely he would be. There's no way it's against the Constitution to block foreigners as the American president. Surely, because that's one of my goals. I hope one day he does block me. That would be amazing.
No, he can't. The actual rule is everything. All his correspondence is part of the presidential record.
Oh, okay.
So blocking people is the ruling is like 4 pages long, and it's and very legalese, but basically, fuck you, you can't do this.
Well, I have to say there's something delightfully admirable about the fact that the American system seems to have held up largely really quite well. Like everything Trump tries to do, it gets legally challenged, and the courts are like, well, yeah, you can't do that, Donald. You can't fucking do it, you dick. So that's been sort of heartening, because I didn't expect that. I expected the American system to essentially try and fudge it, because I'm used to the British system where we don't try and make firm decisions. We just fudge the situation and hope the country doesn't collapse or something, which has worked by and large, but it's not necessarily the most airtight of legal systems.
Well, your awesome speaker is retiring. I'm
has retired. He's now a private citizen now. Yeah. John Burko. His amazing journey. Actually, if you want to show that you can go from essentially a far right garbage bag into being a genuinely decent human being, John Burko would be the guy to look at, because he was part of a thing called the Monday Club, which was a thing within the British Conservative Party, which was calling for the repatriation of people from foreign lands and stuff, like really out there far right garbage, and stood for the Conservative Party in the 90s and was like anti-gay initially, and then became one of the sort of, I suppose, the foremost champions of gay inclusion in Parliament and women's inclusion and people of colour's inclusion and stuff that we've seen in modern times. And that's a fantastic journey he went on during that, which is no wonder the Conservatives ended up hating him, I suppose.
Well, I paid attention to him a little bit because he was loud before he was speaker.
Yeah, he was like, he could have been a town crier.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
But I appreciate people who take that journey. There are people in my life who have had to take that journey, because all of a sudden you're presented with two people who don't fit the mold, as it were.
Yeah. Well, people may know if they've watched my channel at all, but I used to be Catholic when I was a kid.
Yeah.
A Christian. And one of the reasons that I really loved Christianity as a kid was all the nice fluffy bits that Jesus says.
Yes.
Which, if you just focus on that, it seems like a really nice, progressive, awesome religion. It's not, but you can fudge it that way if you want to. If you want to convince children that it's not evil. Anyway, and one of the things I really loved was the phrase that was, "There's none so welcome in the kingdom of heaven as the sinner who repents." And there's something genuinely beautiful, because when you boil that down, it's basically, yeah, we all fuck up, but as long as you're prepared to change your ways and stop fucking up, that's amazing. So that's a genuinely beautiful sentiment which works on a practical level.
Oh, sure. To put it in my own, I mean, I've always been DemSoc in theory, but I was pretty toxically. I had a toxic masculinity phase where for reasons of hiding. Oh, is this how you do it? Okay, I'll do this for a while, and it's like, oh shit, and I watched The Pickup Artist, and that pretty much got me out of it. But
yeah. Well, that should. If you've got an element of decency within inside you and you watch Rouge V for like 5 minutes, that should be enough to go, actually, I need to re-establish where I'm at here. I need to reassess where I'm going, because this is fucking trash.
Yeah, the whole thing. I do like redemption, and a lot of people have gone through it. The people who've gone through it online are the ones who fascinate me the most. I mean, there's people like, well, if we say Natalie was an edgelord on way back, but you can't find any of those videos, which is sad. Um,
Yeah. Well,
and
there's even more extreme examples with people like Faraday Speaks. Are you aware of that person?
Oh yeah, yeah. I was trying to remember. My brain is going, okay, let's do Natalie because that's easy. But there's another guy.
Yeah, yeah. Faraday Speaks was a Nazi basically. He was a member of the kind of alt right. Really hated like people, ethnic minorities and stuff. American chap,
Yeah,
American white chap. Naturally, being well, I suppose they're not all white in the alt right, but they basically, they are. Anyway,
well, Dinesh
uh,
D'Souza.
Dinesh D'Souza and the deliciously named Nicholas Fuentes. What a great white
Yes.
nationalist name that is. Anyway, not that you can't be white and Hispanic, but in the alt-right, it's like one drop, isn't it? So anyway, but whatever.
Yeah.
Anyway, Faraday Speaks was a Nazi and is now not that, and he's like the entire point of his channel. I've been on with him a couple of times on streams. He's a really nice guy and has really changed. He's now basically the opposite of that and works to de-radicalise people who are still Nazis. It's amazing. He's like a vaguely centre-left chap now, I suppose. Yeah, and that's an amazing journey to go on, and a really, really important person to have around because he
Hmm.
can speak to the exact mindset that needs to be spoken to, which is nice.
Well, I know Natalie's having her troubles right now, but one of the things she can speak to is being an edgelord online, and moving from that. R&D, rhetoric and discourse, had a bit of that arc too. We discussed that because this is something I didn't even know because some of those, I don't think all of those videos are still around, but I haven't delved deep because a lot of flat Earth stuff, and I just don't care.
Well, that's the point. Talking of redemption arcs, what do we think of your fellow? What do you call people from Buffalo? What are they called? Buffaloians or something?
Buffalonians, yes.
Buffalonians. That's delicious. What do you think about the quote unquote redemption arc of your fellow Buffalonian, June?
Uh, I'm very wary, and I, I'm I'm just very wary. I avoid her. I avoid her as much as possible, but I'm keeping an eye on it, a side eye on it, because once you become trans, you become real good at side eye. Uh, it's in the handbook. Uh,
Do the official trans when you become trans? They give you like the book and the side eye techniques. That's nice. I like
yeah,
that.
it's pretty sweet. The so I don't know what to think about it. Um, I was around when um, oh dear, the the sex teacher, um, blonde, started dating Chris Ray Gunn and all of that. So
Oh, Lacey Green. Yes.
Lacey Green went her weird route.
Yeah. Yeah. That's very strange.
Although
That,
she's back now. She's back to reality.
I don't think is she. I don't think she is. I think she's still kind of garbage, but maybe less. What makes you say that? What have you seen that I haven't?
After her podcast, she switched from YouTube to podcast.
Okay. No, I haven't. I'll be honest. I haven't heard that. But is she still dating him? I don't know.
I have no idea.
Yeah, because if she's still dating him, then I can't help but feel that she's still garbage. But I don't know if she still is. I have no idea. She fell off my radar a long time ago.
Well, she came back on my radar for reasons I don't really understand, but
Okay.
um, the well, one of the things Kristi and I have already planned. Dr. Kristi, the general,
Well, I
and
presume
I
you weren't referring to yourself in the third person. Like, that's fine. Surely, I get that. Yes.
um, have planned to have kind of. We're doing a part 2 in January, of our thing. But one of the things we're going to deal with is there was a group effort put together by, sadly, not on YouTube anymore, Tom Avella, because Amazing Atheist had put up a question white men have for SJWs.
Yeah, I was involved in that. Yeah, not in the Amazing Atheist one. In the response to
in the
that,
response,
yeah.
I could not remember if you were in it, and I just
I
watched.
was. Yeah.
I just watched it again about 2 weeks ago.
Okay.
In prep for.
I
Kristi.
clearly my performance was so memorable that you couldn't even fucking remember I was there. Okay.
Well, it was H. Bomber guy with his skulls. It just wiped out everything.
Yeah, that is pretty awesome. I can say, yeah, I was in a video with like H. Bomber guy and all these other YouTubers and shit.
But I watched it recently. It's actually very hard to get a copy of the questions white guys have. One of the things that has been
because a lot of them, I've talked to at least 2 of the people involved in that privately who said if they'd known that certain other people were going to be involved, they wouldn't have, because there's basically some Nazis in there. Yeah.
Well, yeah. Well, Fantano and, of course, Dusty have apologized for.
Yeah.
Which,
Actually, Dusty talking of redemption arcs. Yeah.
Yeah, it's one of those. I've received an apology from him, and I barely knew him.
Okay, that's fair enough. Well, that's still good. He's doing like a "My name is Earl" thing, where he's very southern, so that instantly my mind went to "My name is Earl." But he's apologising to people who'd forgotten they'd ever interacted with him, which is fine. That's good. He's doing a thorough job. That's awesome. That shows he's actually legitimately changing. June, just take note. Anyway.
Yes, and so the June is the June I'm wary about, because it's sort of, I'm changing, but I'm still edgy, but I'm still.
Well, yeah. Well, what sums it up is the fact that you went off on her anti-Sarkeesian thing. Now, I'm not asking anyone to like an anti-Sarkeesian, but if you're still doing that whole let's just attack the feminist thing, then you have to be very that goes beyond side eye to stink eye at that point,
Oh yeah, well, I didn't learn that. Well, I learned that from my mom, but my mom's good at stink eye.
Well, I'm trying to be American, you understand here, because Americans are like, how do you define? Americans are like the kind of slightly slow kid in the class where you have to talk differently to make yourself understood to them. Do you know what I mean? Like, and when they do something a bit wrong, you're like, but it's America. Just leave them. They're harmless, even though they're really not fucking harmless. But that's not the point. It's just you let them be, as long as they're not like blowing places up and shit. Just leave them alone.
I still want Canada to just annex my city. It would be so nice.
Yeah, I think there's a lot. I mean, I've said for a long time that you need to just embrace your historic inevitability and come back to Mother England. Very simple.
That I might not go that far, but Canada.
Well, you might not have a choice because, frankly, this American independence lark has lasted far too long. We need to. My red coat is currently in the dry cleaners. When it gets out, we're gonna. It's time to party.
Well, I'm just heading.
It's time to party like it's 1812 again.
Yes. Well, in that case, I'm heading towards Vancouver, and you can the other end.
Well, Canada's been our sleeper cell for centuries now. Where do you think we're basing our invasion forces before it happens? It's brilliant. You've got a totally undefended, because you thought, they're white. We don't need to defend the border there. Oh, it was the perfect plan. The perfect plan.
The perfect. And I think Vancouver was part of. Yeah, Vancouver must have been part of the initial foray, because they've taken all our. They have all our TV shows.
Yeah, and Montreal's got all the trans people, which again, perfect. There's nothing more scary to the American than a well-armed trans person. So, well, maybe a well-armed black trans person, I suppose, would be would be really
Yeah.
scary to conservative America. So let's do that.
Well, well-armed black person in general is scary to Americans, which is
Well, if anything puts pay to the idea that the NRA actually give a fuck about gun rights, is you try and arm some black people and see how much they defend them.
Yeah, pretty much.
And the fact that the NRA have gun-free zones at their own conventions. Well done.
Well, yeah.
Because it's dangerous. Guns are dangerous, except when they're not, apparently.
Well, at least I can use the phrase now. All it takes to stop a bad guy with a knife is another bad guy with a narwhal tusk. So.
Well, no, he wasn't a bad guy. He's a good guy with a narwhal tusk. He's an amazing guy, a badass. Not just that, but an immigrant. So, I mean, those immigrants coming over here, protecting people by selflessly attacking terrorists with narwhal tusks. That's an amazing sentence, which is literally true. Imagine that sentence. Polish chef attacks terrorist on London Bridge with narwhal tusk. Doesn't make any sense. Total nonsense. Actually happened.
The way it's being reported over here is that the narwhal tusk guy was, he was a criminal too, and no, I think that was the Polish, and then there was another guy who had again, just to add to the kind of weird slapstick element of all of this, is that someone else had a fire extinguisher, which they were spraying into his face to try and blind him. The terrorist, that is, not the narwhal tusk guy. Yeah, because they were actually an amazing. It's really sad. The two people. Any innocent person who dies in a terrorist attack is terrible, of course. Yes.
But the two people specifically who, in this instance, were involved in the organisation of the conference they were at, which brought together people from like Cambridge University and former ex-convicts to talk about justice stuff, right? Like justice reform and prison reform and things like that. And that ultimately, unfortunately, they were killed by one of the attendees at the conference. And it's fucking hideous, of course. But it's like I say, it's like if terrorist attacks were directed by Benny Hill. There's a narwhal tusk and a fire extinguisher. What? It's like a Monty Python terrorist attack. It's just nonsense. It happened. When in your life is a narwhal tusk even to hand? When does that happen? Ever?
That has been the one question I've had about all of this. It's like, I can't get my hands on a narwhal tusk. They're actually illegal to own in the U.S., weirdly enough.
Well, I will say it's been an educational experience for the people of Britain, because I know lots of people who are like, I didn't even know a narwhal was a thing. I wasn't even aware of that animal. So we've learned something there. That's what we need to do. Terrorists should always be attacked by increasingly obscure animal bones to teach the people of Britain that these animals actually exist. So, maybe some sort of, I don't know, pufferfish or something, spike, I don't know. That's a thing that happened.
Well, to go back to fishing, we could always attack people with, coelacanths.
Yeah, fuck it, why not? It's no less ridiculous, and it happened.
Yeah,
narwhal tusk, it's genius. It's so badass. Even the terrorists must be thinking to themselves, you know what? Fair play. We don't want you to defend yourselves too much because obviously we want to do the terrorism. But if you're going to defend yourselves, do it with a narwhal tusk. Definitely, amazing. So there's someone out there now who has the story. Did I ever tell you the time I attacked a terrorist with a narwhal? What an anecdote that is! Jesus, that's amazing. And they're going to go, oh yeah, of course you did, Dave. Yeah, you definitely attacked a terrorist with a shut up. Well, I did, honest. There's photos and video and everything. Because again, it was filmed. Of course it happened, yeah. Mad. And it is, I'm sort of in an existential crisis about it to a degree, because my brain won't accept that it happened, but yet we have absolute proof that it did. And my brain, it can't enter my head that thing actually took place.
I've got to say the same.
There's no way of denying it. It's there. It's in front of your eyes.
I've got to say the same. I'm just every time it comes across my eyesight, my brain is just refusing to
Well, it
process
is.
it.
Man attacks terrorists with narwhal tusk is the strangest game of Mad Libs you will ever hear. And yet, it went down. It happened. And naturally, Conservatives have tried to use it. And that's the bizarre thing. They've tried to use it because there's a general election happening. I don't know if you're aware of that here
Yes.
in the United States of Great Britain and Americana land. Yes, there's the Conservatives have tried to use it to push for like harder prison sentences and stuff. And yet the two people who died were specifically spending their adult life in the pursuit of not fucking up criminals and stuff, like criminal reform.
Right.
And the father of the, because there was one of them was a man, one of them was a woman. I've forgotten their names, but the man who died, his father has written a very fine piece, which I just read actually. It was in tomorrow's newspaper, one of the newspapers, The Guardian, basically saying his son would be absolutely horrified that his death was being used to further a thing he despised, which was like harsh criminal punishments.
That's one of the how it's received in America land. Well, first of all, half the people are going, well, if he had a gun, it's like he had a fucking narwhal tusk. He was fine.
Actually, I had to mock Jacob Wall's father, who's eminently mockable because he's an idiot.
Yes.
About this, he said, like, "Oh, well, it's amazing how brazen they are when they know there isn't a gun, someone with a gun there." And I just had to say, yeah, America, well known for its lack of gun violence. No, like having guns doesn't stop anything. Actually, if anything, that shows that we had a situation where the terrorists couldn't get hold of a gun because it's very difficult, not impossible, but very, very difficult.
Yeah.
And so we've actually got a rather good grasp on the situation here in Britain, a good balance where it's difficult. Like there's another terrorist attack you probably didn't hear of in Manchester about 2 months ago. A man with a knife went into a shopping mall, attacked two people, no one died. In America, in El Paso, the same one person went into a supermarket or went into a shopping mall with a gun and killed dozens. That's the difference.
There is the cognitive dissonance of America. Of all things, it's the gun thing.
Yeah. It's the gun massacre capital. Look, in America, someone attacks people with a knife and kills two wouldn't make the news.
I have been shot at twice and a gun held to my head twice.
Wow. Well, this thing in America, you can have you can have someone go into a school with a gun and shoot kids dead, and it doesn't make the national news, or it doesn't make like the 10 o'clock headlines news. That would be all you would hear about for months here. So again, America, you are in no position to be giving advice out on gun safety.
America's in denial about a lot of things.
Well, so are we, but we're mostly about like our history.
Really? Ooh, yes. Yeah. This I've understood. But what Jeremy Corbyn had to say was it's being reported in such a weird way here. So I read the Guardian articles, and saw the video. It's like, oh, so Americans are just fucking lying about what he said, you know.
Oh, well, what specific lie is being told about what specific thing he said?
On the proving that prison reform can work. You know, if you have people who...
Yeah, well, yeah, exactly. One of the people who defended innocent life was a former criminal.
Yeah. And...
It wasn't saying it always works.
No, but we don't like complexity of life here.
Yeah, nuance is like anathema to Americans. It would appear.
Yeah.
Or not all. Again, it really isn't all. There are lots of fantastic Americans, including two people I know called Kristi. So,
well, yeah, that's true. Although one of them escaped to Germany, so.
True. I mean, she is a traitor. Clearly, yes, definitely, 100%. As I love to point out, not just that, but she's a traitor to Germany now because she's currently in Britain.
That's true. She's
studying the election, doing like actual, worthwhile endeavors in the real world, which makes me sick.
I highly recommend watching I don't know if you actually did, but watching the one I had with her, because Um, I've known her for.
If she's gonna be saying nice things about me, I don't think I can. I think my friendship with Kristi is based on insincerity masking genuine deep appreciation. So I don't think her saying nice things would make my head cave in. I think.
Well, I could send you the timestamps. It wasn't a very long nice things. No, she was very nice. I have known her for what, 6 years, 5 years now.
Oh, you've known her longer than me, then. Okay.
Yeah, I actually have. Because I was one of her first subs.
Okay.
And just hearing about her life, I'm like, I didn't know any of this shit. She's fucking amazing.
She is. She genuinely is, yeah. A brilliant human being in a number of ways. Yes.
So, you've got, and of course, we both think you're amazing. So you can't get away from it.
And you're both entitled to be wrong. That's allowed. That's fine. But no, she genuinely is. I'm genuinely honoured to be able to do a regular show with her because she knows everything. She's like and she's one of the most delightfully organised people I've ever known. Like I sort of take the piss out of her actually. Like she'll say, "I'll send you a link to the thing at 13 minutes to the hour." It's so precise. I love it. It's so weird because I'm just like, I'll probably send you a link at some point. I don't know. Well, that's about as organised as I ever get.
Again, we both like you, and we both found you the same way through the Manosphere videos. So
yeah, people genuinely enjoy those, and that's nice. And actually, I haven't done one in a couple of months or something now, and that's partly because the MRAs are shit. Which sounds odd because that's literally what that series is about. So them being shit surely would help. But no, on this instance, no. Because the next one is going to be about the International Conference on Men's Issues 2019, held in another northern city of Chicago, Illinois.
They did it again? God
they do it every year. They're having one every year, yeah. Next one, I think, is in Australia, and there's going to be one in India. So apparently they're allowing brown people in that one.
Well, that's nice.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah, exactly. Equal opportunities bigotry is important. Anyway, I've seen many because they broadcast it live, and I watched it live because I'm a nerd. But in terms, I didn't record any of it because they usually put them out in reasonably short order. But this thing happened in the middle of August, and those fucking speeches are still not published. They are fucking useless, these people. Well, so I was hoping to do the 2019 episode in 2019, but that's probably almost certainly not going to happen now because they still haven't released the thing because they're shit. Anyway.
Well, I mean, they've all fallen apart since Rushi found God.
Yeah, that again, talking of like reversed redemption arcs. Yeah, because he's still as bigoted as he always was, but now he thinks he has religious like backing for it. He's so strange. Yeah, he went from being like essentially pro-rape to being basically anti-all sex. Like all sex is bad unless it's white people procreating, even though he's half Iranian. Very strange.
It's all very strange. Life is nuanced, and life has got many spectrums.
Life is pain, and then we die.
Oh,
Happy New Year!
I'm so trying to be a nihilist, but I just can't.
Yes, I'm too depressed even for nihilism.
Well, trust me, this last year, I've had those moments.
But you're awesome, and you're still here, so good.
I'm not awesome, but
you fucking are. I wouldn't be on here talking nicely with you. Like I said, I will talk to anyone, but if you're a bastard, I will call you that.
Well,
and you're not. So, and I'm 100% correct on my assessment of other people at all times. So,
I should leave it there, but. I'm very embarrassed by compliments ever. I'm one of those people.
Good. That's why I give compliments. I like annoying people. I like making nice people blush.
I have I mean, I've worked in music for 30 years. I've worked in writing for 35. And if anybody ever comes up to me and it does happen and says, I really like your work, I go, what? Okay, hi, thank you. I don't know.
Well, I suffer from the same thing, but instead of getting embarrassed, I just make a joke of it all. Like, people often I'll get people say like, "Oh, I really like your stuff," and I just go, "Have you sought medical attention for this problem?" Because that's basically my one go-to emotional response to anything is make a joke of it. That's, by the way, if you can see my computer rattling, or my computer, it's because the fucking cat's back.
Hello, Rory.
Yeah, but go away, Rory. just leave me alone for a minute. Because I've got my earphones in. He thinks I'm just talking aloud to the empty room, so I must be talking to him because he's a narcissist. Well, and he's generally correct, though, to be fair. But yeah.
That is what cats are for.
Yes.
We've actually been going an hour and a half. Wow. Which
we're just getting warmed up.
Cool. But I have to wrap it up, which I don't want to do. Oh, I'm sorry. I really loved having you on. I did, and
I loved being on. Thank you for inviting me.
Thank you. There's something I want to do, and I haven't said it on without.
Yes, I will marry you.
Well, at least somebody will.
Well, yeah, but I just want the green card. That's all. That's all. Oh. I want an American passport so I can fucking leave. Anyway, no, that's an awful thing to say, Kev. Stop.
I haven't had my birth certificate changed yet, so things will be strange.
Oh, so just like Obama, you were born in Kenya or something?
No, but
that's still my favourite, because I genuinely heard about 6 months ago, so way after he was president, obviously, someone's still doing that. And you're like, surely the whole point of that conspiracy is that he did it to become president and you were trying to stop him being president by, annulling it because he's from fucking Kenya or wherever. And yet they were still pushing it. Like, what's the point now? What are you trying to achieve with this? And his mum was American, which means he's naturalised and therefore would still actually have been allowed to be president regardless. So it's just all pointless. Shut up, you idiots.
It is absolutely pointless. I mean, John McCain, his rival, was actually born in Panama, so...
Yeah, and Ted Cruz, or young Theodore, the weird porn enthusiast.
Was born in Canada, yeah.
Born in Canada, yeah. And was still allowed to run for president, because it's not literally just about birth, it's parentage as well.
Yes, absolutely.
As we've discussed here, it's not even about birth in Britain. Literally, you can be born fucking anywhere. Who cares?
Well, that would be nice. I do have to visit Britain at some point.
But if you do, I would say, selfishly, I'd say stop by Birmingham and we'll have a drink. But Birmingham's a bit shit for a tourist, so I don't know if that would be a good piece of advice because there's nothing here for you. Go to London. London's nice but expensive,
Where ELO was born, of course, it's a place that I would visit.
And Ozzy Osbourne. So
true. There is that.
And we are often incoherent and drunk as well. So
I am perfectly used to that. I've been a musician for 30 years. I don't drink, but the drunker my audience gets, the better they like me. So,
the drunker my audience gets, the prettier I look. So,
well, you're always pretty. So.
Well, again, you saw opticians help for that problem?
It's a soul thing. I look at people. I don't believe in souls in the thing, but
I don't believe in souls, but your soul is beautiful. Yes. That's nice.
If you had one,
yeah. If I had a soul, it would be really nice. Yeah.
Now let me get to the wrap up.
No, you're a regular viewer of my nonsense. And I never wrap up properly, so why would I allow someone else to wrap up properly?
Well, the thing I wanted to add, I'm going to have 2 shows sort of back to back. I want to have. It's going to be the first time I'm going to do multiple people. I
That's what
want.
she said.
It wouldn't be. Well, it wouldn't be the first. We won't talk about that. One of them is marrying my ex-wife, which weird.
Oh, okay. Wow. And on that bombshell.
And on that bombshell. I'm going to have. I want to do 2 things on trans allies, and I want to do one with people, basically cis men. And
Right.
the other I'm going to do with trans women, and I've already talked to them, and they're cool. And you're one of the 3 I wanted to get on. So,
well, I'd be genuinely honoured, but I'm also interested. Who are the other 2?
R&D, and the other one is still not said yes, so I'm not going to say his name. He wants to, but he's not sure if he doesn't think he can add anything to the conversation, which is bullshit.
Okay, well, I think I know who that is, actually, but I won't say.
Yeah. You almost certainly do. Yeah, but rhetoric and discourse, and because,
And Dave Davidson, the 3rd, is the other one.
That's it. Of course. How did you know? Psychic. You're psychic with no soul.
I'm psychic with no soul. Oh, well, I've got soul, but I'm not a soldier. Is an absolutely meaningless lyric.
I do not know what that's from. How?
It's the Killers. I got soul, but I'm not a soldier. It's a very old song now, actually. But anyway. Someone pointed out, I forget which comedian pointed out, it's as silly as singing "I've got ham, but I'm not a hamster," which is true.
This is true. All right, I'm gonna get to my ending. God damn it!
That's what she said. That's what she said.
Oh yes, it's the walls are already broken. I'm
just going to shut up now. You do your end.
So basically I have to do the YouTube prayer, and we all know what it is, and we can probably sing along, but if you like this, please consider giving it a like. There's a subscription button down there. If you hit the bell, chances are you'll get notifications when we're on again, when a show is on again, so you can skip it. And there's a PayPal down below. Patreon, because of course I have a Patreon, and more people need to visit it. I have nothing on there yet because I have one patron, but this is remember, for everybody, your voice matters, your life matters, and you matter. And Kevin, love you to pieces, and thank you so much for being on.
Oh, I love you too, and thank you for having me on. I'd be happy to come on again if the chance ever arises. And Dave Davidson is free. I will only do the show if Dave Davidson's around.
Well, we'll see. I had a different third person in mind, but we'll see.
Well, I'm out then. That's it. You'll never see me again.
Yes. All right. I'm going to stop.
I'm silly.
I'm pressing stop now. Okay. See, I will talk to you in a minute, of course, because we talk afterwards. But
no, we don't.
All intents and purposes,
the crowd get everything. The crowd get every bit of anything. I'll leave it all out on the field. How dare you?
Yeah, well, some private shit. All right, and yeah, thanks. And I would love to come on your show once, where
once in a once. Yes. Well, yeah, I'd love to have you on. Absolutely. Although if Kristi's around as well, that will be really confusing for me because I'm stupid. But yeah, absolutely. Yeah, you're more than welcome. Absolutely.
Oh yeah, the one thing I did want to say, I saved this joke specifically for you. The hormones have been doing great for breast growth and stuff, but I do have a C cup. So
hey, yes. And there you go. There's your money shot, people.
You
Lovely
know.
stuff.
All right, hitting the button. And goodbye to everybody. We'll see you again.